Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and good God, today's episode of WandaVision was nuts, and I watched it at 0.25x speed, just so I can give you lads more details that you might have missed at a regular speed. But please keep in mind this is a breakdown of episode 6 as well, so I'm gonna go shot by shot explaining the whole episode while showing you details I found in 0.25x speed. And yes, a spoiler alert, but before I begin, I'd like to thank Skillshare once again for sponsoring today's video. For those of you who don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community that offers membership with meaning. I recently discovered a class called YouTube Success by Sora Lamore, where she teaches you about how to grow your online presence by building an authentic channel and finding your niche online. Being in the world of YouTube, this class would have definitely helped me out a lot when I was first starting out my channel, and I can see this benefiting so many people who are trying to get their own start in creating online content. Aside from YouTube Success, there are countless other classes to check out, like classes for productivity, art, journaling, and so much more. And right now, the first 1,000 lads who will click my link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership, and after that it's only around $10 a month. So click on my link down below to visit Skillshare today. You can learn a new skill, enhance your creativity, or simply fend off your boredom. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. For the first time ever, we see Aaron Taylor's version of Pietro since Avengers Age of Ultron in the recap. Now notice the recap doesn't only show his death scene from Age of Ultron. In fact, it shows those scenes where Pietro specifically got hit by bullets. For example, we see a bullet tapping on Pietro's arm, but he didn't die because of this. He died for this. So why did the recap show this extra scene of Pietro almost getting hit by a bullet? The answer is because that's all Wanda remembers of her brother, how he died a painful death at the hands of Ultron. And that is exactly why Wanda saw this dead version of Pietro again. Now, is this Pietro's corpse? Has Wanda also stolen his dead body and reanimating it? I don't think so. I'll explain it in a minute. Then the episode begins with the intro that is a full-on reference to Malcolm in the Middle, including a cutaway, characters talking to the camera, and juvenile humor. But notice in this intro, which we're seeing from Tommy's perspective, Wanda and Vision are both showing their powers to their twins without any hesitation. Wanda closes the bathroom door using her magic, and Vision effortlessly walks through the couch to catch Tommy. So this establishes that the twins are fully aware that their parents are super powerful beings, which of course eventually feeds them their own sets of powers. Tommy is super fast, and Billy has magical reality awareness. And even in the intro, we see Agnes inside Wanda's house, as if she has become a family member now, a naughty family member. Then comes Pietro, who we see for the first time using his powers since Age of Ultron in the MCU. Everyone is then seen in their Halloween costume, and Vision tells Wanda he had to wear this ridiculous outfit because there was no other clothes in the closet. So Vision again had to do what Wanda wanted him to do, but he keeps giving subtle hints that he isn't really happy to be here, that he really wants to find out what's going on with Westview and outside Westview. But I love the timing where Billy says their Uncle Pietro is essentially a man-child, and immediately after we get to see Vision in this outfit, which by the way is his comic accurate outfit.
He's what you call a man-child.
Wanda is wearing her comic accurate costume too, and Elizabeth Olsen is just killing it in this outfit. But Pietro says this looks worse than the outfit their mom once made for them. And here we come to know that anyone who has ever been made to enter the Hex, aka Wanda's fake reality, Wanda actually suppresses their trauma from past experience, so that they can behave all happy and fine inside Westview, which is even more extreme in case of Vision, who literally forgot what the Avengers even stand for.
You're one of the Avengers. You're Vision.
But what's an Avenger?
So for everyone, they only got their sad memories erased, but for Vision, his entire memories before Westview were wiped. Now notice when Billy talks to the camera, aka the audience, only Pietro can see or hear him do so. Kinda tells me that he indeed is not what he says he is. Maybe he's a part of the audience as well. He even seems unaffected by Wanda's magic, and it seemed as though only Pietro wanted Vision to go away, so that he can be alone with Wanda and try to get some information. Wanda then gets scared by Pietro, who sneaked up on her for no reason. Keep this in your mind, I'll explain it in a minute. Then we come back to the real world, where SWORD is testing that drone they had sent earlier, which apparently is still glowing red. Monica and Darcy both call out Director Hayward for sending an armed drone and shooting at Wanda, but Hayward attacks both Monica and Darcy.
And which one of you is the sassy best friend?
There's no time for you to diminish your colleagues.
Hayward actually reveals in this scene that he kinda resents superheroes. He doesn't want to empathize with Wanda at all. In fact, his plan is to kill her to bring an end to all of this. But Monica says we have no clue that killing Wanda would be the solution. She thinks if Wanda is the problem, then she has to be the solution. Now combine all of this with the fact that Director Hayward had SWORD disassemble Vision, then stated that they're now moving to robotics and AI.
Focused on robotics, nanotech, AI, sentient weapons, like it says on the door.
This definitely lends credence to the idea that he's going to be the Stryker analog, and might be responsible for creating the anti-Avengers or the anti-mutants. And he not only brought up Carol Danvers to taunt Monica, but also used the death of her own mother to prove that she's incompetent. Now, if she really was incompetent, she would have lost her cool right here. But the fact that she remained calm despite such horrible comments shows how maturely she's trying to deal with the problem. So Hayward has definitely crossed the line here. This scene then ends by Hayward taking Monica, Darcy, and Agent Woo off the case, which gives us a chance to see Agent Woo and Monica in hand-to-hand combat for the very first time. But notice, just before Agent Woo started punching the guards, he was actually looking around, probably trying to count and measure his attacks. Darcy complains why nobody told her this plan, but the truth is, even Monica didn't know Agent Woo straight up knocked down the guards. She just went along. Now here's another subtle detail I found in this scene. Notice how Monica reacts after knocking down one of the guards, almost as if she herself is surprised at her own strength. We've seen in the previous episode that she wasn't showing up on the X-rays, and today's episode straight out tells us that because she went inside the hex and came out, the energy has actually rewritten her DNA cells. Basically means it's changing her, probably the origin of her power. And that is why when she kicked this guard and knocked out, she was surprised at her own improved strength. And then comes the first WTF moment of this episode. Pietro makes a very creepy comment on the twins of Wanda.
Unleash hell, demon spawn!
Unleash hell, demon spawn. Let's break down the scene for a moment. He called the twins demon spawn and told them to unleash hell. In the comics, their souls are literally part of Mephisto, which in a way makes them demon spawn. And notice right after he said it, he turned around and kinda got shaken after realizing Wanda was looking at him, as if he almost lost his disguise, something that he doesn't want to reveal. And he has been a very bad influence on the twins. They now say things Wanda doesn't want them to say. For example, this scene.
That is so
Rad.
lame.
Lame.
Or this one.
You maximize your candy acquisition, huh?
Yeah, kick ass.
Kick-ass.
Now them literally saying Kick-Ass is a fun little reference to the movie Kick-Ass, which starred both Quicksilver actors Aaron Taylor and Evan Peters. Wanda then walks up to Herb to ask how his patrolling thing going on, and comes to know that Vision isn't on the patrol team. He's not on duty. And something creepy happens here again. Mr. Herb asks Wanda if he should change something according to her needs, but Wanda says no, just like it happened in the previous episode with Agnes, where it seems as though if anything goes out of the script, everyone in town just seems to ask Wanda if they should do it again. We then get a fun little moment of Pietro and Tommy messing around with the neighbors. They spray silly strings on everyone. But notice this body behind Wanda just doesn't seem to move. The reason I know it's a human is because Pietro just literally sprayed silly strings on everyone. Means every human being. Then why isn't this individual moving? Is it glitching like the rest of the people at the edge? Let me know what you lads think. Vision on the other hand is exploring Westview and trying to figure out what's really going on here. There he comes across this woman that we've already seen in the trailer, but now we get the full scene. The tear running down the woman's face as she forever hangs the decoration. This absolutely broke my heart. And notice even the guy behind her is also stuck in a loop. Now comes the second most disturbing thing in today's episode, the commercial. We see a boy starving. Then a shark comes in and gives him a yogurt style product called Yo Magic. But listen to the exact wordings here.
Snacked on Yo Magic, bro.
Snacked on Yo Magic, which definitely sounds like someone is feeding off Wanda's powers. And this boy, being unable to open up the magic, implies that magic cannot keep you from dying. So this very creepy commercial is a reference that magic can bring the dead back to life. Wanda is finally starting to cope with the idea that the situation is unsustainable and that Vision and Pietro are still dead. But hats off to Marvel. They totally nailed the look of late 90s and early 2000s commercials. Wanda then makes Pietro and her twins return all the candies that they stole from the neighbors. But notice in the background, playing at Westview's movie theater on Halloween seems to be a double feature of The Incredibles and The Parent Trap. So technically, Pixar exists within the MCU. They both oddly make sense as being shown within this world. The Incredibles is about a family of superheroes, while The Parent Trap sees a pair of long-lost twins reuniting. And here Pietro explains why he's really here. He literally gives us the script that he has to follow. Arrive unexpectedly, create tension with Vision, make some trouble with the twins, and eventually give Wanda something to be sad about. Now Wanda's ever-evolving accent has been something of a joke among the fans, and the MCU is poking fun at it too.
What happened to your accent?
What happened to yours?
This is one of the reasons why I'm loving WandaVision so much, because the characters themselves are also aware of the changes that we as an audience are noticing. We now know that Wanda is aware of her accent gradually changing over the years. Wanda then says to the twins to not go past Alice Avenue, and over there, Darcy, Monica, and Agent Woo are setting up their own hidden camp, where they find out Director Hayward actually found a way to look through the boundary inside Westview, and apparently he's only tracking Vision through his decay signature of vibranium. They can also see Westview residents in Vision's immediate vicinity. Now notice as Vision ventures to the edges of Westview, he encounters a number of people frozen in place, some of them crying. It seems for the moment at least that perhaps Wanda isn't using her power to control the entire town, but instead just the part she and her family are in. But having said that, given what comes later in the episode, that may be changing. Vision then approached Agnes, who like everybody else is frozen with the exception that she can talk, which is really odd and kinda tells me that she definitely is a resident of Westview. After all, she lost track of the road in a town she grew up in. Notice she's wearing a witch costume that we've talked about already in the trailer breakdown, but Vision says,
But what's an Avenger?
with that line, we now realize that Vision likely has no memories pre-Westview. Why is that though? Is Wanda suppressing his memories, or were they erased when he died? I guess we'll find out in the next episode. Now notice when Agnes was frozen like everybody else, her eyes also got teary, and as soon as Vision freed her from Wanda's oversight, we can see some tears dropping. Now I'm not sure if Agnes is just pretending here, or she's really under Wanda's spell, because remember in the previous episode, Norm just said she is doing all this. He didn't say any name, but this time Agnes straight up calls out Wanda, almost as if she wants to frame her as the villain in front of Vision. And as Wanda has forbidden her twins to go near Alice Avenue, but Vision finally reached there. Meanwhile in Sword's base, Monica again mentions the aerospace engineer that she was talking about in the previous episode.
My way back into the Hex will be here in an hour. Just gotta meet my guy over the ridge.
Notice how she says gotta meet my guy, indicating all the rumors of this character being a woman is not true. So fingers crossed, this could still be the way Fantastic Four comes into the MCU. And then we learn Agent Woo hasn't just learned close-up magic tricks, but he's also a whiz at hot wiring cars.
Sure we can. I'm a whiz at hot wiring cars.
Scott Lang is also good at hot wiring cars. So is it safe to say that Agent Woo probably considers Scott Lang a personal hero? Then the whole conversation about Monica's DNA being changed takes place, and they head towards the ridge to meet up with the aerospace engineer, while Darcy decides to stay to find more dirt on Director Hayward. Pietro and Wanda then have a very intimate conversation, where for the most part, Pietro tried to pull some information from Wanda. He kept telling her he's her brother, she can trust him, he's not gonna react like Vision. All he wants to know is how did she create this fake universe in the first place. But Wanda genuinely doesn't know how all of this started, which is the biggest clue that someone else is definitely behind all of this. But seeing so many kids on Halloween when there wasn't even a single kid the day before is definitely suspicious, and Pietro does call out Wanda for this.
Where were you hiding all these kids up till now?
What?
I'm impressed.
He suddenly switches to praising her to avoid getting thrown out. He says he's impressed with how Wanda has kept everything under control here. But she does get emotional talking about how all this began. That she was feeling empty, alone, didn't really know what to do about it, and then boom, this fake reality. Which brings the biggest WTF moment in this episode. Just like we saw the actual corpse of Vision in episode 4, this time she sees the vampire version of Pietro. Vision forces himself out of Westview, and pieces of his body start to tear apart and go back inside Westview, because this alive version of Vision only exists and belongs to Westview. So as soon as he steps onto the real world, he wouldn't exist. Now notice, while Vision is falling apart piece by piece, but his Mind Stone remains intact. Now why is that though? Is it a different stone? Or did Wanda steal it too from an alternate universe? Or did some powerful source give it to Wanda in order to restore life to Vision's body? All this pain makes Vision scream out loud, which can only be heard by Billy inside Westview, who by the way is wearing his comic-accurate costume. Billy runs to Wanda telling her their father is dying, and Wanda in that moment officially becomes the Scarlet Witch in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And oh, just before that, Pietro says this.
Don't sweat it, sis. It's not like your dead husband can die twice.
Now, if you look closely at the gravestones Wanda knocked Pietro over, one of them says Janelle Semmelman, who happens to be the second unit director for Fantastic Four, and also the first assistant director of WandaVision. But that begs the question, how does this Pietro know that this Vision is dead already? Vision died after Pietro, so there's no way he should know that Vision is actually dead, clearly indicating this version of Quicksilver is not exactly what he looks like. Scarlet Witch expands the parameter and wraps everything inside her magic, but through none of her fault, Darcy gets stuck inside Westview as well. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with her character. What happens with any character really, because Scarlet Witch has just begun to show us her capabilities. But notice the scene where Darcy gets pulled into Wanda's spell. It vastly differs from the scene in the second trailer. Marvel intentionally removed the red lighting effect for the trailer. Hayward tries to reach other officers, but nobody responds as everyone is sucked into Wanda's universe. And at this moment, he realized he up. And boy oh boy, this scene where they ended today's episode. Now, as I said, I'll talk about dead Pietro's body and explain why he sneaked up on Wanda like this. Notice this dead version of Pietro isn't exactly similar to what we saw in Age of Ultron. MCU's Pietro was shot more times in the body than this one, and he's sneaking up on Wanda like some evil source. All of this indicate that he could be Mephisto in disguise, but Marvel also dropped subtle hints about other villains being involved. For example, Pietro mentions Wanda giving nightmare to other people.
It's a pretty big leap from giving people nightmares and shooting red wiggly woos out of your hands.
And even Hayward mentioned the word nightmare while speaking to Monica.
We take her out, this whole nightmare ends.
And we know how much Marvel loves to wordplay, so this could very well be a reference to the villain Nightmare. But there seems to be a limit on how many people Wanda can control at once. This episode is full of kids we haven't seen before, but now people further away from her are essentially locked in place. If we assume all the kids have been in Westview the whole time, but in some form of sleep state, it would explain why waking them has led to adults now being locked in place. Combine this with the fact that Scarlet Witch has just pulled a bunch of additional people into Westview. We might be about to see her powers hit breaking point. This was just crazy. Whatever happened in this episode, I can only expect this sort of entertainment from Marvel. To get such jump scares at the middle of the night while watching a Marvel series on Disney Plus is something I never thought I'd experience. Let me know what you think of today's episode, and if you like the details I managed to find so far. I'll probably end up finding more details which I'll upload in the middle of the week, so stay tuned for that video. Now please grab the subscribe button if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Till then, I'll see you lads in the next one.